Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Slow English Stories learning channel. I am so happy to see you here again. Do you want to understand English words faster and more naturally? Do you want to train your brain to speak English fluently and with confidence? If the answer is yes, then this video is exactly what you need. Today, I am going to share a beautiful, heartwarming story with you. It is the story of a young woman named Emma who feels stuck in her life and decides to make a big change. Along the way, she joins a local gym, meets a dedicated trainer named Jake, and discovers that sometimes the hardest step is the first one. I will tell you this story slowly, sentence by sentence. I want you to pause the video after every sentence and repeat it out loud. This is called the shadowing technique, and it is the most effective way to train your brain to think and speak in English without translating in your head. Are you ready? Take a deep breath and let's begin the story. My name is Emma Miller. For a long time, I lived a very quiet and predictable life, but I was not happy. This is the story of my first day at the gym and how that one decision changed the entire course of my life. To be honest, I was never a fit person. I spent most of my evenings sitting on the couch, watching movies, and eating way too much pepperoni pizza. I did not exercise, and I always made excuses about being too busy or too tired. One Tuesday morning, I woke up and looked at myself in the full-length mirror in my bedroom. I did not recognize the woman looking back at me. I looked tired, my skin was pale, and I felt heavy. I realized right then that I was not happy with who I was. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to have energy. I wanted to feel strong. I remembered seeing a gym called Fitness Life just 2 blocks away from my apartment. The building always looked clean and bright from the outside. That afternoon, I finally gathered my courage and walked inside. The smell of the gym was new to me, a mix of cleaning products and hard work. A young woman with a kind face was sitting at the front desk. When she saw me, she gave me a big, welcoming smile. "Hello, welcome to Fitness Life Gym," she said warmly. "Are you interested in joining us today?" I nodded nervously. I filled out several long forms about my health and paid the membership fee. Just like that, I was officially a gym member. The woman looked at her computer and said, "Your first personal training session is included for free. Would you like to meet one of our trainers right now?" I hesitated, but then I said, "Yes, please. I really don't know what I'm doing." She picked up the phone and made a quick call. "Jake, I have a new member here, Emma. Are you free to do an introductory session?" She listened for a moment and then hung up. "Jake will be your trainer. He will be out in just a few minutes." I sat on a small bench in the lobby and waited. My hands were shaking slightly because I was so nervous. I worried that everyone would look at me and see how unfit I was. Suddenly, the door to the training area opened, and a tall man walked toward me. He had short, dark hair, deep brown eyes, and a very athletic build. He was, quite honestly, the most handsome man I had ever seen. He walked up to me with a confident but gentle stride. "Hi there, I'm Jake. I'll be your personal trainer today," he said. His voice was deep and calm. My heart started beating incredibly fast, and I could feel my face turning a bright shade of red. I tried to stay calm, but it was difficult. "Is this your first time at a gym, Emma?" he asked. "Yes," I replied quietly. "I'm a bit lost. I don't know anything about exercise or how to use these machines." Jake gave me a very kind, reassuring smile. "Don't worry about that at all. Everyone has to start somewhere. I am here to help you every step of the way. We will take it slow." Jake began by showing me around the entire facility. He showed me the long rows of treadmills, the heavy weights in the back, and the peaceful room where people practiced yoga. Finally, we went to the functional training area. Jake began to teach me some very simple exercises. We started with body weight squats, then some modified push-ups, and finally we used some very small dumbbells. Even though the exercises were simple, they were very hard for me. After only 10 minutes, my heart was pounding and I was breathing heavily. I felt embarrassed because I was so tired so quickly. But Jake was incredibly patient. He never rushed me, and he kept encouraging me, saying, "You're doing great, Emma. Just keep moving." By the time the hour was over, every muscle in my body was hurting, but strangely, I felt amazing. I felt proud of myself for trying. Jake wiped his forehead and asked, "Should we do this again at the same time next week?" Without even thinking about the pain, I said, "Yes, definitely." From that day on, I started coming to the gym 3 times every single week. I made sure to book every session with Jake. Week by week, I could feel myself getting stronger. The exercises that used to be impossible were now becoming easier. My energy levels were higher, and I started eating better too. During our sessions, Jake and I started to talk more. I learned a lot about his life. I discovered that he had loved fitness since he was a young boy. He told me about his family and his dog, a big golden retriever named Max. One day, while I was catching my breath between sets, he asked me, "Emma, do you have any pets at home?" "No," I told him, "but I absolutely love dogs." He smiled and said, "Well, Max is very friendly. Maybe you can meet him someday." My heart jumped in my chest when he said that. I wondered, does he want to see me outside of the gym, or is he just being friendly? I realized that I was starting to have very strong feelings for Jake. I started thinking about him all the time, when I was at work, when I was cooking dinner, and even in my dreams at night. However, I was too scared to say anything. I kept thinking, what if he doesn't feel the same way? He is a professional trainer, and I am just a client. He probably sees me as just another person he has to help. I decided to keep my feelings a secret and focus on my workouts. But then, one afternoon, something scary happened. I was running on the treadmill, trying to push myself to go faster than usual. I lost my focus for just a second, and I lost my balance. I fell down hard on the moving belt and flew off the back of the machine. A sharp, hot pain shot through my left ankle. I tried to stand up, but the pain was too much, and I collapsed back onto the floor. I was so embarrassed and in so much pain that I started to cry. Jake saw what happened from across the room and ran to me immediately. I had never seen him look so worried. He knelt down beside me and carefully looked at my ankle, which was already starting to swell up and turn blue. "We need to get you to the hospital, Emma," he said firmly. Before I could say anything, Jake reached down and picked me up in his arms. He carried me all the way to his car in the parking lot. At the hospital, the doctors took x-rays and told me that my ankle was badly sprained. "You need to stay off your feet and rest for at least 3 weeks. That means no gym." I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. No gym meant I wouldn't see Jake for nearly a month. But Jake didn't leave. He stayed with me the entire time I was at the hospital. When I was ready to go, he drove me home and even helped me get up the stairs to my apartment. "Rest well, Emma," he said softly as he stood by my door. "I will come by and check on you tomorrow to see how you are doing." My heart began to race. Jake actually came to visit me every single day after that. He didn't just check on me, he brought me healthy food, magazines to read, and beautiful fresh flowers. We would sit on my couch and watch movies together, or just talk for hours about everything and nothing. During those 3 weeks, I fell even deeper in love with him. I loved his laugh, I loved the way he listened, and I loved how kind he was. But I was still terrified of rejection. I kept asking myself, why is he doing all of this? Is he just being a good person, or does he feel something more? Sometimes I caught him looking at me in a very special, tender way. Sometimes he would sit very close to me on the sofa, but he never said the words I wanted to hear. He also seemed a bit confused and nervous. A few times he started to say something important, but then he would stop himself and change the subject. It felt like we were both hiding something. Finally, 3 weeks passed, and my ankle was healed. I was excited to go back to the gym and get back to my routine. But when I arrived at the front door, I saw something strange. There were large cardboard boxes everywhere, and the gym was mostly empty. I saw the woman from the front desk, and she looked like she had been crying. "What's happening?" I asked, confused. "The gym is closing, Emma," she said sadly. "The owner can't pay the bills anymore. We all have to leave by the end of the week." My heart sank. I didn't care about the gym, I cared about Jake. I ran to his small office in the back and found him packing his things into a box. He looked up at me with a very sad expression. "I'm losing my job, Emma," he said. "I don't know what I'm going to do now." I wanted to run to him and hug him, but fear held me back. We just stood there in the quiet office, surrounded by unspoken words and a heavy silence. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. I kept thinking about Jake and how much he had helped me. I knew I couldn't let him just walk out of my life. The next morning, I called him and asked him to come over to my apartment. When he arrived, we sat on my couch just like we had during my recovery. "Jake, I have an idea," I said, my voice full of excitement. "You are an amazing trainer. Why don't you start your own business? You can be a private personal trainer and work for yourself." Jake's eyes started to shine with hope for the first time in days. "I can help you with everything," I continued. "I can build a website for you, and we can use social media to find clients. You don't need a big gym to be successful." He looked at me with a mix of wonder and confusion. "But Emma, why would you do all of this for me? Why would you help me so much?" I hesitated, my heart pounding. Because you are my friend, Jake." As soon as I said the word friend, I felt like it was the wrong thing to say. I saw a flash of disappointment in his eyes, but he just nodded. We spent the entire day working on a business plan. Even though we were working together, there was a strange tension in the air. We both felt it, but neither of us knew how to break the silence. A few weeks later, we launched the business online. We decided to call it Jake's Fit Life. Slowly but surely, the business began to grow. People loved Jake's style of training. I helped him with all the office work. I answered his emails, scheduled his appointments, and managed the finances. After 3 months, Jake had 20 regular clients and was making more money than he ever had at the old gym. The business was a huge success, but our relationship felt stuck. We were very close, spending almost every day together, but it wasn't close enough for me. Sometimes I would catch Jake staring at me when he thought I wasn't looking. When I turned to face him, he would quickly look away and pretend to be busy. We were both hiding our true feelings, and the secret was becoming heavy. One afternoon, Jake was very quiet. He looked unhappy. I walked over to him and said, "Jake, you know you can talk to me about anything. What's wrong?" He looked into my eyes for a very long time. "Can you really tell me anything, Emma?" he asked softly. He started to reach for my hand, but then he shook his head and pulled back. "Maybe another time," he said. My heart broke a little bit more that day. 6 months went by. The business was thriving, but I was becoming miserable. I loved him so much it hurt, but I was convinced he didn't feel the same way. Then a new client named Sarah started training with Jake. She was beautiful, energetic, and she laughed at every single thing Jake said. I watched them from across the room, and I saw how she touched his arm and smiled at him. I felt a sharp pang of jealousy. That night, I went home and cried. I felt like I had waited too long to tell him the truth, and now he was going to fall in love with someone else. The next day, I was very cold and distant toward Jake. I only gave him one-word answers and avoided looking at him. "Emma, are you okay?" he asked, looking hurt and confused. "Did I do something wrong?" "I'm fine," I snapped. "Just leave me alone, Jake." That night, Jake sent me a long text message. It said, "Emma, I don't understand what happened today, but I am so sorry if I hurt you. You are the most important person in my life. Please tell me what is wrong so I can fix it." I stared at the phone for hours. I wanted to tell him everything, but the fear of losing him completely was still there. I didn't reply. The next morning, there was a knock at my door. It was Jake. He looked like he hadn't slept at all. "We need to talk, Emma, right now," he said, walking into my living room. "I don't know what you mean," I lied, looking at the floor. "Please, Emma, no more secrets. Just tell me the truth." I looked up at him, and suddenly I was just too tired to keep hiding. "Fine," I shouted, tears streaming down my face. "I have feelings for you, Jake. Real, deep feelings. I have loved you since the very first day we met at the gym, but I stayed quiet because I thought you didn't feel the same way. And now Sarah is here, and I can't stand the thought of watching you fall in love with Sarah. I just can't do it anymore." Jake stood there completely shocked. He stared at me for what felt like an eternity. Then, to my surprise, he started to laugh, a happy, relieved laugh. "Emma," he said, stepping closer and taking my hands in his. "Emma, I have been in love with you for months. I was so scared to tell you because I thought you only saw me as your trainer or a business partner. I was terrified that if I told you how I felt, I would lose you forever. I didn't even like Sarah. I was only thinking about you the whole time." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You love me?" I whispered. "Yes, Emma, so much, more than I can say. I love you too," I said, finally smiling through my tears. Jake leaned in and whispered, "Can I kiss you?" "Yes," I breathed. He pulled me close and kissed me gently. It was the most perfect moment of my life, even better than all the dreams I had ever had. When we finally pulled apart, we were both laughing and crying at the same time. "No more secrets," Jake said. "From now on, we tell each other everything." 1 year has passed since that day, and everything is perfect. Jake's business is bigger than ever, and I work with him full-time as his business manager. We moved into a beautiful house together and finally got that dog we talked about, a big, energetic puppy named Rocky. I am a completely different person now. I am healthy, I am strong, and most importantly, I am happy. Every single morning, I wake up next to the man I love and feel grateful for my life. One beautiful Sunday morning, Jake and I were walking through Central Park. The sun was shining and the air was crisp. Suddenly, Jake stopped walking and turned to face me. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. When he opened it, I saw a stunning diamond ring. "Emma," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "I want to spend every single day of the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" I started crying again, but this time they were the happiest tears I had ever shed. "Yes! Oh my God, yes!" I shouted. Jake slipped the ring onto my finger, picked me up, and spun me around in the air. People walking by started to clap and cheer for us. I looked at this wonderful man, my trainer, my best friend, my business partner, and now my future husband. I originally joined a gym just to lose weight and get healthy, but in the end, I found so much more than that. I found my strength, I found my soulmate, and I found my forever. And it all started with one brave decision to walk through those gym doors. Now it is your turn to practice. Go back to the beginning of this expanded story, pause the video after each sentence and repeat it exactly as I said it. Use the shadowing technique to improve your pronunciation and your rhythm. If you practice like this every day, you will see incredible results in your English speaking skills. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you in the next lesson.